With Dune coming out this weekend and just the fact that we're getting really close to Oscar season. Wait, we're in Oscar season. It's time for my updated predictions, my first one in a while. Let's do it. What is up, Vic fans? Welcome back to my channel. You all have been asking for it, so we're back with another predictions video for this year's Oscars. Now, we're still pretty far out, and there are a handful of movies I haven't been able to watch, but these are my predictions. As always, it's not necessarily what I want to happen, it's what I think will happen at this point, late October. Many things will change. We'll do some updates along the way, and I'm not even going to include every category in today's video. I'm leaving out categories like costume design, makeup and hair, song, documentary, international feature, but we're going to slowly bring those in as we get closer. And of course, this video would not be possible without your support, so I need your comments down below, and if you'd like to see an update in a couple of weeks, be sure to drop your thumbs up. Appreciate you big time for watching. We're almost there to 100K, but that's not right now. Right now is Oscar predictions. Let's get into our first category, and that category is sound. And with every category, I'm going to give you guys some honorable mentions and then talk about the top 5. First off, with the honorable mentions, some movies that I felt just a bit too hesitantly to not put on this list. Movies like Belfast, Nightmare Alley, Matrix, Tick, Tick, Boom, and The Tragedy of Macbeth. Now, these are all films that I believe will do a great job with their sound design. I have seen Macbeth, and I thought it was just phenomenally done. But the sound category, and not really ever since they've mixed it, because it used to be sound mixing, but overall, it's always been about the most sound rather than what they do with their sound design. And because of that, I have some more obvious ones within my top 5, maybe less subtle players. So at the 5 spot, I actually have A Quiet Place Part 2. Now, a lot of people don't have this on their list, so this is one of those that I may be on an island by myself, but after the first Quiet Place, what it was able to do within those categories, and then looking at Part 2 and the fact that it did it just as well, why wouldn't this be on the list? Now, maybe the studio doesn't quite give it the campaign that it deserves, and maybe people just forgot about it altogether, but if you think back to what came out this year and you think, oh, A Quiet Place Part 2, what's the entire idea behind that movie? To give us great sound design. Maybe that doesn't cross people's minds, that's why it's a bit lower, but it's on the list nonetheless. Then you have No Time to Die. I believe No Time to Die is going to make this because it's James Bond. It's performed fairly well, at least internationally at the box office, okay, in the United States, but really No Time to Die, it does it, and it does it right. The sound design is on point, and if it gets nominated for anything, possibly song, but if it gets nominated for anything that we're talking about today, I believe sound's going to be on that list. I have Eternals. Not a ton of people have Eternals, and it feels like every single year we're looking at the Marvel movies and saying, okay, is Avengers going to get nominated? Is this going to get nominated for sound? And it never really does. I believe Black Panther did, but that got nominated for Best Picture. Chloe Zhao's presence is what makes me want to put this on this list. And I feel that way for quite a few of the spots that I have Eternals in today. But in terms of sound, I think the sound design is going to be on point. And it does kind of remind me of what Dune has been doing with its trailers. And of course, I saw the film, haven't seen Eternals just yet. But I'm putting it on the list, not feeling too strongly about it, but I think it's going to slide in there. Then I have West Side Story. I mean, it's a musical. You know, I obviously could put In the Heights, but I feel like In the Heights is just going to be, unfortunately, I really enjoy the movie, forgotten about altogether, and then, of course, the controversy, so I just don't know if that's going to have a presence. So what's the other musical left? Well, you do have Tick, Tick, Boom, but where I've not seen Tick, Tick, Boom, it's hard to put that on here. And then Dune. That's my number one. That's the one I believe is going to win at this point. And how does it not win? You know, we haven't seen all the films that have come out this year. Maybe No Way Home comes out and takes that number 1 spot. But how does Dune not win this category? That's my prediction. Let's move into Best Visual Effects. And once again, you see a reoccurring theme at the top, but we're going to talk about the honorable mentions. For visual effects, it's hard not to put Matrix on here because it's the Matrix, but you know, we've seen many, many movies like it since that first one came out, so I'm keeping it just outside of that top 5. Suicide Squad, I would put it in. Absolutely. I thought the mix of practicality and special effects, it was just a phenomenal integration of all of those things. I don't know if it's going to make it on. And then Jungle Cruise, a really well-done movie in terms of visual effects, just kind of slides out. You're going to see a lot of Marvel movies, and I hate to make it so Marvel-heavy, but how do you not put a spectacle, at least what we think is going to be Spider-Man No Way Home, so that's the number 5 spot. Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm putting it just a bit lower because you don't have Chloe Zhao. Shang-Chi was such a huge, unexpected success, so that's going to go right above Godzilla vs. Kong, but still, I mean, the CGI was incredible in Godzilla vs. Kong, so I'd be crazy not to put it on the list. Like I said, Shang-Chi just a tiny bit higher because of the reception. Eternals in that 2 spot because it's grand, it's a spectacle, it's Chloe Zhao. But Dune. Again, I don't have to explain myself with Dune. It's very obvious. It's going to dominate the technical awards. And those, I believe, will push it to get that Best Picture nod. But we're not there yet. Let's get into Best Score. And for score, reoccurring theme at the top, let's talk about the movies that I don't think will make it in. Licorice Pizza. Now, we're going to talk a lot about Licorice Pizza today. Unfortunately, with some of these technical categories, I don't know if it makes it in there just because it feels like less of a technical movie, more of a story, character-centric film. And then you have French Dispatch, which, you know, oftentimes we're seeing a movie like French Dispatch get in Wes Anderson's films, and then, you know, the reoccurring composer with a lot of these movies. I'm actually keeping most of the reoccurring composers out, putting one of their movies in. French Dispatch, I don't know if it gets in. No Time to Die. Hard not to put No Time to Die on this list, but I'm going to keep it right outside that top 5. Eternals and Ramon's score, I truly was blown away when I heard it in that first trailer. Maybe it was the second trailer. But now that I'm actually seeing some of that music come out and listening to it, I haven't put it together with the film yet because I need to see the movie. But let me tell you, I think Eternals may make its way on to this list. At number 4, The Tragedy of Macbeth, Carter Burwell. This is a very subtle score. So it's one that I don't feel extremely confident about. That's why it's a bit lower. There isn't that grand scene, or even with there's a duel in the movie that happens, not the last duel, but a duel in Tragedy of Macbeth. Even then, the score was really subtle, and at times it just pulls back and stays out of the scene entirely. We've seen that before from the Coen brothers. So, you know, I feel less confident about this one, but it was so good in my opinion, I had to put it on this list. Nightmare Alley, it's hard not to put Desplat on this list. Pairing with Guillermo del Toro. Power of the Dog, Johnny Greenwood, and Greenwood has done a lot this year. So this is the one that I'm going to put on here for Greenwood. I would not be surprised if he gets a dual nomination, but The Power of the Dog is the one for me, at least of the films that I've watched. It was just, I mean, it stood out in a really, really good way. It was memorable. It amplified almost every scene. It's pretty much everything you want from a score. It's Dune. Again, this is why I've got the Dune pop figures here. I hate to be so repetitive. Now, we're going to slow down on the Dune stuff when we get out of these technical categories. But, you know, it's very easy to put it at the top, and I'm going to take the easy way out and put it at the top because I believe it deserves to be there. Let's get into the next one, and that is production design. And Austin, would you cool it with Dune? No, I will not. I refuse. Right outside the top 5, I actually have Cruella kind of maybe making its way in there. I don't think it will, but the production design in that film was fantastic. A movie like Spencer, which I think it has it with Best Actress, but beyond that, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe a Best Picture. From the trailer, production design looks beautiful in the film, and then the French Dispatch. It's really hard not to put this on the list. You know, Wes Anderson, one thing he does well is production design. For some reason, I just feel like people are going to overlook the French Dispatch this year, like they have done a lot for Wes Anderson. They didn't do it with Budapest, so maybe they won't do it with French Dispatch. I would put it in personally, but there's just this weird feeling I'm getting that they're going to overlook it entirely. Then we have The Power of the Dog at the number 5 spot. I truly think the production design here is incredible. And yes, you're using the natural landscapes. It is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But I just thought they did a really great job of making you feel like you were in that time period. West Side Story, how do you not? Recreating, and obviously it is a remake, but recreating some of those iconic scenes and utilizing what they have, that's also part of production design. So that's on the list. The Tragedy of Macbeth, I have to put this on here. The production design in this movie could go overlooked because it's such a far back period piece, because it's the kind of movie that it is. But I don't know how you overlook this movie in terms of its visuals. Again, I saw the film and I thought it was visually stunning, absolutely stunning. Production design, a big part of that. Nightmare Alley, watch the trailer. Come on, they're at a carnival. It's Guillermo del Toro and a carnival. How do you not put this at number 2? But again, it's Dune. Am I surprising anyone with that? Do I have to explain myself? I choose not to. I don't want to waste your time. Let's move on to the next one. Animated feature. Obviously, Dune is number 1 on this list. No, it's not. The ones that will get very close, in my opinion. Vivo, I wasn't in love with Vivo. I thought it was solid and cute. Belle, people are talking about this film like crazy. Now, my hesitation with putting it on the list is it's a lot of film festival talk, but in terms of your more general audience, I feel like it's just not going to hit at all. That could be on the release, that could be certain things. They're probably going to promote it really hard, and I guarantee at a point I'm going to be like, well, maybe Belle makes it in, but right now, I just don't know enough about the film, but people love it that have seen it. Ron's Gone Wrong. Ron's Gone Wrong. It's kind of hard to say. No, not really. I'm going to see it tonight, so we will see. It doesn't feel like that movie. You know what I mean? That movie that gets in, especially over some of these other films. Sounds cute. That's about it. The top 5 includes Mitchell's versus the Machines. Now, I would put this higher personally. This is one of my favorite animated, maybe my favorite animated movie of the year. Love it. It's hard to put it any higher, though. I don't know how Netflix is going to market it, so it comes in at the 5 spot. Raya and the Last Dragon. You know, since there's so much Disney Pixar on this list, I could see this one not making it, but right now, you know, it just feels like that kind of movie that makes it on this list. Encanto looks great. I don't know how it doesn't make it. There is actually a chance, this top 3, I believe there's a chance Encanto could come out and take it, according on how good it is. But right now at the 3 spot, it was hard not to put Luca at number 1 because Pixar is so beloved by so many people. Remember a couple of years ago, I almost said, well, I did say that Klaus, you know, could come in and take it. And of course, I was wrong. But this time around, I'm going to say Flea ends up taking this award because of the type of movie that it is. It's a documentary, mostly animated, so it ends up making it on this list. I loved Flea. I thought it was outstanding. I still prefer maybe 1 or 2 of these other movies just a bit more. Flea is that kind of film. It's an impactful story. It's an important story. It's a documentary. Everything you want for an Oscar. So I have a feeling it's going to take it. The screenplay categories, we have adapted screenplay and original screenplay, starting with adapted. The movies that I believe don't make it onto this list, and here's where you're not going to see Dune, because I just feel like Dune doesn't get in with the story side of things. So unfortunately, right outside looking in. Coda, which I believe has a shot, but the release date and the fact that Apple, I don't know if they're going to market it as heavily because they have Macbeth. Speaking of Macbeth, it's hard to put Macbeth on this list. It is Shakespeare, and we've seen before. Now, I believe 1 or 2 times a Shakespeare adaptation has made it into the Oscar conversation, but we know how many there have been, so it's hard to put it in that top 5. And then The Lost Daughter. I've heard really good things about The Lost Daughter. Possibility there, but let's get into the top 5. And at number 5, I'm going to say Nightmare Alley. You know, Guillermo del Toro, what he's always been able to do, kind of what this film looks like it's going to be, looks interesting enough. I hope it hits. The Humans. You know, we've seen A24 do this before where it has 1 or 2 movies that just doesn't come out of nowhere, but, you know, hits hard with a certain audience, and a lot of it works because of the writing. I feel like The Humans is going to be that movie. I can't wait to see it. West Side Story, Spielberg, an adaptation, you know, part of me is hesitant because it's such a popular movie that he's remaking, so maybe not, but I'm putting it on right now. The Power of the Dog. Now, it's really hard not to put because right now, The Power of the Dog is the front runner. Everyone's talking about Campion script. Everyone. But there are a handful of people that just don't like the construction of the movie, that didn't feel as much as others. And you have The House of Gucci. And we saw how The Last Duel hit with critics and audiences and then bombed at the box office. So Last Duel not on here. Unfortunately, love the film. But House of Gucci, for what it's trying to do, not as big of a budget, even near as big of a budget, but it's going to be much more of an Oscar playing. It's going to try to be more of an Oscar player. I have to put Gucci at number 1 for right now, but we know Power of the Dog as of now, is the front runner. So I'm kind of looking forward to the future there. Original screenplay. This one's a little bit different. I think maybe the contenders are even stronger. We have films like Spencer, Come On, Come On, and Parallel Mothers that I saw at the New York Film Festival, thoroughly enjoyed. I need to put my review out on this channel. I believe all three of those get close, especially Spencer from what I've heard. But I'm going to say Don't Look Up at the 5 spot. It's Adam McKay. We've seen what he's been able to do over the last couple of years, and it has that quirkiness, but a mixture of seriousness. And, you know, the script could come across as messy. We'll have to see. This may not be as much of a major player as people think it's going to be, but right now, it's Adam McKay. I had to put it at the 5 spot. Number 4, Mass. You know, I'm worried about the Oscar awards marketing from this studio. It's got me a little worried, a little hesitant, but as of now, it's so strong. I cannot believe this is not adapted. It is so strong. I don't know how you don't put it on this list at this point. King Richard. Now, I haven't seen King Richard. It feels like that type of crowd-pleasing movie that gives the character so much to work with, to display and showcase emotions. We'll talk about Will Smith here in a little bit, but I feel like I need to put it on this screenplay list. The two big ones, though, and I think the major players here, and I can't believe they're competing against each other because I feel like they're frontrunners as a whole, Licorice Pizza and Belfast. I'm going to put Belfast at the 1 spot, because of just the impact that it's made at festivals, the talk surrounding the film, the fact that a lot of people are saying, this could be it, guys. No one has seen Licorice Pizza yet. No one. So to put it at number 1 at this point is difficult, but do not be surprised if PTA comes out and says, hey, guys, how dare you not put me at number 1? How dare you? Either way, I think it's going to be these two competing in this category and multiple categories. We'll get into it. Let's go into editing. And he's back with Dune. I should have put all 6 pop figures out. But let's talk about the ones that don't quite get in. King Richard, you know, feel-good, fast-paced movie, could get in for editing. Licorice Pizza, not putting it on here just yet. I'm a little worried about that, but there's some other films. The Power of the Dog, really good editing. More subtle editing than anything, so I don't know if that gets in. A West Side Story, anytime you have a musical of that caliber, Steven Spielberg, it's always going to be in contention. The one I'm the most angry about not putting in the top 5, because I truly believe it may just be the best edited movie of the year, but it's not flashy editing. It's subtle editing. It's the transitions. It's everything that I believe makes a movie, a beautifully edited movie, great. And I may even prefer the editing in Tragedy of Macbeth over Dune, but I'm not going to put it in the top 5 because, again, like sound, this category always goes by the most editing rather than the most beautifully edited movie. So, yeah, not at this point. Maybe I feel more strongly when these movies start to come out. Here's the 5 that I have. At number 5, I have Nightmare Alley. Guillermo del Toro, he always has a very stylistic look and feel to his films. I feel like that could make it in for editing. Don't Look Up. It's that kind of movie. Fast-paced, quick cuts. You're going to have some narration. You're going to have, going back and forth between different stories. As long as it isn't messy, it's going to get in. Absolutely. House of Gucci. I'm going to put House of Gucci on here too because, again, Ridley Scott, it looks like a very stylistic, multiple stories happening at once. You're going to be going back and forth. You're going to have some interesting transitions. I'm going to put Belfast at number 2. I've heard the editing was really solid in this movie. Because it's going to be such a major player, I feel like it is almost assured a nomination in a lot of these technical categories. But the one I feel like, okay, I think it could slide in. It's black and white. It looks like a beautifully paced movie. I think it could slide into this category, and I think it has a good shot, but it's Dune. It's Dune's category to lose. Again, definitely more flashy editing than some of these other films, but that's what they like. At the same time, you have just a movie that breaks so much ground and is so fascinating from a technical standpoint, from start to finish, from beginning to end. So I'm just going to put it at the top of a lot of these technical categories and feel really confident in it. My confidence is not waning on this movie whatsoever. We'll see what people think when it comes out, but yeah, Dune. Cinematography, Nightmare Alley, The French Dispatch, and Spencer. It's really hard not to put all three of those movies in here, especially Nightmare Alley with what Del Toro's movies have done in the past. But I have a strong 5 here. So West Side Story, beautifully edited trailer, showcasing some of those beautiful shots. I love the way that it looks. Belfast, it's black and white. You have all of the different things about the trailer that come together and make me say, yeah, you're going to have some swift camera movements in there, and just some things that make me say, yeah, I'm pretty confident in the way this movie's going to look. The Power of the Dog. I've seen the film. Grand, beautiful, some awesome, standstill shots, so many different things happening in the frames and the backgrounds. I feel like it has to make it on here. Dune, number 2 for cinematography. This could be the one that is stolen by, we just talked about it, Tragedy of Macbeth. Now, like I said, Macbeth's editing is amazing. I feel like it's going to be overlooked, but I don't think the cinematography is overlooked. I think this is an assured nomination, at least. But the reason why I think it wins is because some of the framing here and those transitions I was just talking about, I feel like people are going to apply that more towards the cinematography than the editing, than the way the movie's put together. And you have that center-framed Wes Anderson style, and I think people are going to appreciate it even more so than the Wes Anderson movie coming out this year. And then the black and white. It's like everything you need to make that visual experience that people need when they're voting for all of these categories, cinematography especially. I'm going to put it over Dune this time. Could be an upset. Don't know if it's going to happen, but that's one of my wild cards this time around. Let's get into the biggies. Let's get into the acting categories. Supporting actress. I'm really loving some of these, but it's not like there are a ton of people in competition here. My 3 outside, Ariana DeBose from West Side Story. I just feel like that's the kind of role that could get you on there. Meryl Streep, Don't Look Up. I don't care if her character's quirky or not in the trailer. She's Meryl Streep. She's gotten nominated before when I don't think she deserved it, but obviously she's one of the all-time greats, so you have to at least put her in contention. Finally, it's hard not to put Marlee Matlin from Coda in because she really does carry that movie on her shoulders, but I'm just worried about the way that film's going to campaign itself. If anyone gets in from that movie, it's going to be her. Anjanou Ellis from King Richard, just some of the lines that I saw in a couple of those trailers, and word of mouth, everyone's saying she's amazing in the movie. Got to put her on this list. That could go even higher once I see the film. I have to go Kirsten Dunst from Power of the Dog. Look, she's giving an emotional performance. She's been snubbed before. People have been talking about her. You just got to give her the right role. Well, she has the right role. I'm not going to say she has a chance to win, but I believe this is her chance to get that ever so coveted nomination. One that, it worries me because Dune doesn't seem like the type of movie that gets a performance in there, but Rebecca Ferguson, she is incredible in this film, and I think she has a good shot. It's hard to put her over someone from a Belfast or a Mass, but right now, I feel like Rebecca Ferguson has to get that nomination, and more people are talking about it, which is important. She's incredible in the film, but at the same time, she's Rebecca Ferguson. She's beloved, so I'm going to put her in the 3 spot and feel pretty good about it. Catriona Balfe from Belfast, just going off of what I've heard, word of mouth, the fact that this movie is going to be such a heavy Oscar contender in a lot of the major categories, and everyone has said she is amazing in the film. I cannot wait to see this movie. I'm putting her at 2, but I can't put her over Ann Dowd from Mass. Please, don't screw this up. Do not screw up the marketing. Ann Dowd, I was able to watch a Q&A, right, with Ann Dowd and Jason Isaacs, and they were both incredible the way that they were working off of each other, and the writer-director, of course, and just the way that Dowd talked about this role and everything she said made me think she's going to go as hard as she can, whether she has the full support of the studio or not, to get this nomination. I think she deserves this nomination. She absolutely gets nominated. Even if people don't watch this movie, she's getting nominated, but can she win? I hope she can. And you could obviously go many performances from that movie, but I think Dowd is going to be the one over Plimpton to take it. Unfortunately, I think the film only gets 1 actress nomination. Supporting actor, a little bit different here. It's a bit harder to come up with who's going to get that, 5th spot, but Al Pacino, I'm throwing this on the list. I also want to throw on, kind of out of the blue here, and I haven't heard a lot about him, John Bernthal, maybe, just maybe, King Richard gets him that nomination. Ben Affleck from The Last Duel. Again, the movie didn't do very well at the box office, even though it's one of my favorites of the year. I think he has to be talked about for his role. He was amazing in the film. He was amazing. I don't know if he gets in because of the way the film performed, unfortunately, but you have to talk about him. And then Andrew Garfield from The Eyes of Tammy Faye. I would love to see him get in. I just feel like the movie is, and we'll get into whose vehicle it is, but I just feel like the film, that he didn't do quite enough to get in, with the film not being talked about for Oscars all that much. David Alvarez from West Side Story, I'm putting him at the 5th spot. Just the role that he's playing, and it looks like he's going to give a great performance. It really does, and I feel like West Side Story is going to be at least competing for a lot of these actor-actress spots, so he gets the 5 spot. Bradley Cooper, not in Nightmare Alley. We'll talk about that in a second. Bradley Cooper in Licorice Pizza, a supporting role, a category that is not as strong as it has been in other years. So I feel like he gets in. Jason Isaacs in Mass, I'm putting him at the 3 spot. Now, a lot of people have him at the 1. As of now, I want him to win. He would be my vote if I was voting, but I haven't seen these other 2. And again, Mass, I just don't know if it's going to do that well. Just to win 2 Oscars, I would be shocked out of my mind. So I'm putting him at the 3 very hesitantly. Jared Leto. Did you see him in the trailer? Everybody's talking about Colin Farrell and Batman, but I'm like, yeah, Jared Leto's doing the same thing in House of Gucci. So I just feel like it's going to be that kind of role for him, and he's been an Oscar-nominated actor before. He's won before. I feel like he has a good chance to win again. But right now, shockingly, it's Jamie Dornan. Okay, he was really good earlier this year, and people have been talking about it. Can he do it? Can he? Guys, I always knew Jamie Dornan had it in him, but I didn't know he'd be coming this quickly. Belfast, it's that kind of movie. Acting nominations, screenwriting nominations, could win Best Picture. I feel like right now he's in the top spot. And, everybody's saying he's campaigning, even though it looked like maybe he was lead campaigning as supporting actor. Jamie Dornan, bada bing, bada boom. Right now, he's my winner. Let's get into actress, Best Actress. And another one that's a little bit tougher to predict when you get outside of that top 2 or 3. But right now, outside looking in. Unfortunately, again, The Last Duel, not doing all that well. So I'm going to put Jodie Comer in the honorable mentions, even though I love Jodie Comer in the film. Nicole Kidman from Being the Ricardos, which, could get Javier or Nicole, to be honest with you. But I saw the trailer and I said, I don't know if this movie's going to do as well as what I believed it was going to do at the start. People are saying she's great in the film, but I just need to see it before I feel that confident. Olivia Colman, The Lost Daughter, hearing great things. Jennifer Hudson in Respect. Now, I've heard some division on this film. I still haven't seen Respect. I have to see it. Fans love it more than critics. I think everyone loves her performance, but because of that slight division, I don't know if it gets her that nomination. Rachel Zegler from West Side Story. First of all, an amazing follow on social media. I love this girl. She's fantastic. But, it's her first time. Is she going to steal the show? I hope she does. This is what I'm going to have to see or at least hear something from before I put her higher. And then Cate Blanchett in Nightmare Alley. Let's get into the top 5. I saw Parallel Mothers. I'm thinking to myself, if Penelope Cruz campaigns on the level that she can, it's her film, it's her vehicle, some great performances overall, but people are going to look at her and say, this is her opportunity, and I believe that's why she could get in. Lady Gaga, House of Gucci, you watch the trailer, you're like, oh, okay, well, Lady Gaga's going to get a nomination. Am I super certain about that? Not necessarily, but I believe there's a good shot. I saw Tragedy of Macbeth. I'm putting Frances McDormand on there. Again, it's a Shakespeare-heavy movie. There's going to be a little bit of a disconnect, but everything that McDormand said is what she needed to say to get the nomination. Her commitment to the role, her powerhouse performance. Honestly, she was in it not as much as I thought she would be. I was thinking to myself, could she go for supporting? But either way, she's going to get a nomination. Jessica Chastain, Tammy Faye. Here's what it comes down to. Her and Kristen Stewart for Spencer. Jessica Chastain was so good in Tammy Faye. Her movie to carry on her shoulders, absolutely incredible performance, and she commits to the role in a way to where I could say Kristen Stewart could be in trouble, but everything I'm hearing about Spencer, everything, absolutely everything, tells me Kristen Stewart's going to win. I have to see the film to feel confident. I wouldn't vote for her right now because I haven't seen the movie. But you got to go off of what you hear. That's what the Oscars are all about. These are my predictions. Love Kristen Stewart. Hope she rocks in the role right now. She's my pick. Best Actor. Let's start with honorable mentions. Nick Cage in Pig. Come on, please. I'm not confident in this because I just feel like they're not going to do it. But please, he's so good in that movie. Joaquin Phoenix in Come On, Come On. It feels like less of a flashy role. That's what I've heard. It's not Joaquin running around as Joker, so I don't know if he gets the nomination, but I can't wait to see the film. Andrew Garfield in Tick, Tick, Boom. It's hard because really, I don't think anybody's seen it yet, so it's hard to put him up there, but I'm hearing there's a shot. Bradley Cooper in Nightmare Alley. I just feel like he's going to get this close because the category is as stacked as it is, or at least it seems like it's going to be. Bradley Cooper has a great chance to get in. I just don't know if he's going to do it. The next one, Peter Dinklage in Cyrano, right? I haven't seen the movie, clearly. The movie's reception, it was okay, right? But Peter Dinklage, everybody was talking about Dinklage. And would my heart be filled with joy to see him get in? Yes. But again, this category is so strong. Without seeing the film, I don't know if I can do that just yet. Now, I haven't seen House of Gucci either, but I have seen Annette, and I have seen The Last Duel, and I have seen Adam Driver just consistently deliver this year. And this is the role that you look at and you're going to say, oh, well, that's the one, right? House of Gucci is the one. If he gets a nomination, it's going to be for House of Gucci. I think this gets him in. I really do. DiCaprio, don't look up. It's DiCaprio. Do I need to explain myself? I don't care if the movie's quirky. I don't care if it's about staring at paint drying on a wall. It's DiCaprio. Put him on the list. Tragedy of Macbeth. Denzel Washington. Powerhouse performance. He's incredible in this movie. There's a monologue in there that will go down as one of the best Denzel monologues ever. He summoned Training Day. He gets in. The only reason I'm putting Cumberbatch higher is because there's been more talk surrounding Cumberbatch, right? We watched Macbeth. We were amazed by the technical visuals. Oh my God, performance is really good. But with Power of the Dog, it was more so the screenwriting, Jane Campion, and Benedict Cumberbatch. He was the talk. And everybody thought he would be good. They thought this would be the Oscar vehicle. I don't know if it, delivered on the level that is overwhelmingly like, okay, he's going to win, but it definitely gets him in. But it's Will Smith's time to shine. It's Will Smith's Oscar. The movie is just that kind of film that serves as that crowd-pleasing vehicle for a beloved actor. And I've always loved Will Smith. I grew up just the biggest fan, and to see him finally get that role that right now, it's almost guaranteed. Now, again, I have to see the film. Maybe I hate it. But what I'm hearing and the word of mouth and just cementing this as one of his best roles ever. And then everything he's doing outside of it. He's got the documentary on Discovery. He's got, all of the stuff he's doing in his personal life. It just feels like it's Will Smith's year. I will be shocked if he doesn't win this Oscar. Best Director. I have two honorable mentions here. Pablo Larraín from Spencer and Steven Spielberg from West Side Story. Both of those, I am not very confident in my top five. Both of those could make it in. But my top five includes Guillermo del Toro, Nightmare Alley at the 5 spot. The most likely to get replaced by maybe a Spielberg, but I still think he gets in just because, again, it's that kind of movie. At least it looks like it's that kind of movie. Jane Campion, Power of the Dog. She did everything she needed to do to almost cement her that spot. It's still not guaranteed, but there's a really good chance. At number 3, Denis Villeneuve from Dune. I really want him to win. I haven't seen some of these other films. I'm rooting for him this year. I really am. But is this movie that is on a technical level brilliant, on a story level not as brilliant, even though I still loved it, is that enough to get him the win over Paul Thomas Anderson, who's directing Licorice Pizza, a movie we haven't seen? But come on, y'all. He's Paul Thomas Anderson. How do you not put him at the 2 or the 1 spot? Now, because Belfast has performed as well as it has, and people love it as much as they do, and Kenneth Branagh is that director. Now, he did direct Artemis Fowl. So, part of me wants to be like, come on, dude. You did that, and then you're doing this. But this is a redemption story for Kenneth Branagh, right? The big blockbuster movies have never been that for him. They never have, they never will be. At least I feel like. He's directed some solid ones, but Belfast is the kind of movie that he thrives in. And because, we'll talk about it here in just a second, I just feel like right now he's the front runner. I believe the top 3 have a chance at this point. But those are the top 3. Branagh's at number 1. Let's get into Best Picture. Again, this year, 10 guaranteed spots. Right now, my honorable mentions include Coda. Yeah, I'm still putting that on my honorable mentions. Release date was bad. I don't know if Apple's going to push it. So honorable mentions for sure, but definitely has a shot. Tick, Tick, Boom. Lin-Manuel Miranda, Andrew Garfield. Good get in there. But West Side Story, another musical, I don't know if it's going to be as good as I hope it's going to be. Mass, I'm still crossing my fingers. I just don't know if they're going to run the campaign necessary to get it in, but it could take that 9 or 10 spot. Spencer. Now, this one's tough because I feel like this is much more of a performance piece type film with a really good screenplay. It doesn't feel like a Best Picture nominee, but I did talk to some friends when I traveled to Nashville the other day who have seen Spencer, and they said it's the best movie of the year, or it's one of the best movies of the year. So now I'm like, do I put it in the top 10? It's hard to do it over some of these other movies, but maybe that switches up next time you see me. Let's get into the top 10. At number 10, I'm putting Tragedy of Macbeth on there, and I'm feeling fairly confident about it. I know there's that disconnect with Shakespeare and the dialect and some of those things, but I've seen the movie. I feel like the response to that movie and just the way it worked on a technical level, the way that Joel Coen was able to bring this to life, I feel like it almost has to get a nomination, even though, again, it's at the 10 spot. It may be the least likely to get a nomination. Don't look up, okay? We got to see the film. Does it work? Do they balance the comedy and the seriousness of this type of movie? I feel less confident than even Macbeth. But because it's Adam McKay, that makes me put it on the list. As of now, it's at my 9 spot. Number 8, West Side Story. This film could be okay or even good and still have a shot because it's Steven Spielberg, because it's that kind of movie, because of the release date. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You've heard it all before, right? But I'm still going to put it on the list fairly confidently because of the type of movie that it is. I hope it's great. Steven Spielberg, please deliver. The Power of the Dog. A lot of people have this even higher. There's just been a little bit of division on the story. Did it work as well as Campion intended? That's the only thing keeping me from putting it higher on this list. I don't know if it has a shot to win Best Picture, but it's definitely going to get in. House of Gucci. I'll be honest with you, it's going to be hard to top The Last Duel for me, so I don't know if I'm going to like House of Gucci as much, but who knows? The only thing really keeping me from being like, yeah, House of Gucci is almost 3-hour runtime. If that was true, I'm like, is it going to be too long? But we've seen Oscar movies be that long before. King Richard, with the performance, with the crowd-pleasing nature of it, this one's actually kind of a sly, a secretive, it could win Best Picture. It's the first one I feel that way about on this list. But I'm going to put it at the 5 spot right now. Then we have Nightmare Alley. Guillermo, he won recently. If it does the noir mystery, combining the cast, if it does all of that really well, I wasn't blown away by the trailer, but I really liked the trailer. So maybe I should have put King Richard 1 spot higher, to be honest with you, but it's just hard to put him over Guillermo del Toro. Dune at the 3 spot. Yeah, I mean, it's really high, right? With only one potential acting nomination, it's hard to be as confident about this as the 2 above it, but you have all of the technical awards, and you just have the fact that I think a lot of people are getting behind this film more and more. So I'm going to put Dune at the 3 spot. Not as good of a chance to win as the 2 above it, in my opinion, but my heart would be so happy if Dune ended up winning Best Picture. But it's going to be hard to top. Licorice Pizza, that's been the thing all along, and Belfast. It's going to be those 2, in my opinion. Unless, Licorice Pizza just comes out, and I'll throw everything out the window if it bombs as a film. Just quality-wise, if it bombs. I don't think it's going to, though. It just looks like that story, that heartfelt story. You have Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, and all of those things behind it. This director has done it so many times, countless times before. So that has a great chance to win Best Picture. And maybe even more of a crowd-pleasing movie. Belfast is emotional, sweeping, black and white. It's everything you feel like a Best Picture winner should be. It's almost the clear front-runner right now. I'll have to see how I feel about those 2. But right now, those are the 2. Those are the 2 that I believe have the best shot. But my question for you all is, what movie comes out of nowhere and says, hey, hi, I'm either in contention for Best Picture or at least get that 9 or 10 spot that no one expected? So for you guys, what is that movie? A movie that we didn't talk a lot about, like Being the Ricardos, maybe even Parallel Mothers has more of a chance for Best Picture than I'm thinking right now. I would love for The Last Duel, but again, give me a movie that I didn't hit upon as much today. I appreciate you guys so much. We're getting into that time of the year where I'm getting fired up about this kind of stuff. But thanks for chilling out, listening to me, hanging out.
This is nothing without your all's opinions down below. And if you liked the video and you'd like to drop a thumbs up, support this channel almost to 100K. I appreciate you more than you know. I'll see you guys soon.